Today we are going to talk about rounding decimals. When we round decimals, we are simplifying our numbers. We're cutting them off at a point where we can have a more simplified number to make it a little bit easier to use. So let's start here. We've got three numbers that we're going to round to different place values. So the first thing that we do is we read our number, 6 and 38 hundredths. Now, it tells me that I want to round this to the tenths. So the very first thing that I'm going to do is draw a line underneath the spot that I am rounding to. From here, that means that I am going to have all zeros after that line. After the digit that I am rounding to will all be zeros. Okay, so now I go ahead before I get those zeros and I use the number directly to the right. This number right here is going to tell me how to round this 3. Okay, so I look to the right and I've got an 8. Now, the rule is that if we have a number to the right that is 4 or less, this number will stay the same. If we have a number that is 5 or greater, then this number that we're rounding to goes up 1. So this 8 bumps your 3 up to a 4. So now everything before that line stays the same. 6 decimal. That 3 shifts to a 4 because our 8 tells us to, the number directly to the right tells us to. And then everything after that 10th place is a 0. So 6 and 38 hundredths rounded to the nearest 10th place rounds to 6 and 40 hundredths, or you can say 6 and 4 tenths. Okay, let's try another one. It says 0 and 4,239 10,000ths, and we're rounding it to the hundredths place. So we go ahead and find our hundredths and underline it. Now, our 2 is in the hundredths place. That means everything before the 2 stays the same in our rounded answer. The 2 guides, we look to the right to see what number guides us. 3 is 4 or less, so this 2 stays the same. It does not drop to a 0, it stays where it's at. Now, everything after that line turns into a 0, so that can be simplified to 42 hundredths. One more example here. We've got 21 and 53 hundredths, and we want to round it to the nearest whole. When it says round to the nearest whole, that means we want to round it to the nearest whole number so there are no more decimals. So the whole would be that ones place. We underline that ones place and look one space to the right. Now, everything after that 5 does not matter. The only thing that matters is the number directly next to it, directly to the right. Now, just like before, everything before that underline stays the same. Now, we go ahead and look to the right of that ones place, and we've got a 5. 5 falls into the 5 or more category, so we bump that 1 up to a 2. Then everything after that line turns to a 0. Otherwise simplified down to 22 wholes.